I got a friend of mine, Andrew Walker, works at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. He is an ethics professor. He is an all-around good guy with terrible taste in music. So he put up a tweet, and I want to meditate upon his tweet because my goodness gracious, some people are upset with him. Are we going to get any anguished think pieces on the compromised moral witness of Biden voting evangelicals? Now that LGBT flag, he forgot the Q and the plus. Are we going to get any anguished think pieces on the compromised moral witness of Biden voting evangelicals now that the LGBT flags are flying at the U.S. Embassy to the Vatican and proposed taxpayer-funded abortion is a thing? Or does the narrative only flow in one direction? Or maybe what we're learning is that voting rationales are complex, layered, and all the shame heaped upon Trump voting Christians by their cultural betters was either simplistic or in bad faith. Well, my goodness, he certainly got a big reaction from the usual suspects. I made sure to retweet him. I want to actually talk about this for a minute. And you know, y'all know where I stand. I am in seminary. Consider myself an evangelical Christian of Orthodox beliefs across the board. But I really don't care where you stand on the issue. I mean, for theological purposes, yes. But for your day-to-day civic life, I don't care. You can support the transgender agenda, the alphabet gang agenda, the abortion agenda. Okay, we can agree to disagree. The problem is, of course, you'll be made to care these days, and it's always my side who has to agree. Why the hell, by the way, are we the culture warriors when we're just like, this is the way things are? No, we must change. But somehow I'm the cultural warrior for standing still. I don't get that. But the secular culture writes the playbook until we get to heaven, and then they realize they had the losing playbook. But nonetheless, there have been massive piles of hand-wringing for years over evangelicals supporting Donald Trump. Now, I will tell you, and I need to get into some of my history here so that you understand it. I did not support Donald Trump in 2016. I did in 2020. I did not in 2016. In 2016, I said character counts. Donald Trump has repeatedly said that he has never, ever had anything he needed to repent for. In fact, to this day, Donald Trump maintains that. And to be a Christian, you have to repent. And I don't want to vote for the guy. I don't want to vote for him. I didn't vote for Clinton. Many people told me if you don't vote for him, Clinton's going to get elected. She did not. He did. After he was elected, I realized that a lot of the things I expected to get from him, I did not. In fact, we got a lot of great policies from Donald Trump. You may not like Donald Trump, and I'm not a fan, but we got a lot of really good policies out of the Trump administration. And he had a great way of exposing the elite and the experts as wrong. Remember that massive Middle Eastern war we were going to get by moving the embassy to Jerusalem. Remember the massive international boycotts we were going to get by getting out of the Paris Accord. Remember the Iranian tactical nuclear strikes that we would see by getting out of the Iran deal. Remember the economic wreckage we would get by his tax cuts. Remember all of the dead people caused by net neutrality repeal. A lot of the experts made a lot of bold claims and he proved them wrong. He was also inarguably the most pro-life president in American history. Republicans had continued to fund Planned Parenthood, and Donald Trump found a way to defund Planned Parenthood that was upheld by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the most liberal circuit in America, when he said that because money is fungible, organizations that perform abortions can't get federal funding. No prior administration, even the very pro-life George W. Bush administration, had done that. He put Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, and Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. He put a lot of pro-life people there. Now listen, I don't care for the guy. He's I mean, to use the phrase, he's not my cup of tea. I like Mike Pence a lot. Mike Pence and I are longtime friends. But in 2019, I said, listen, a lot of the stuff that I thought we were going to get from Donald Trump, we didn't. In fact, we got very good stuff. He surrounded himself with very good people, and I'll vote for him in 2020. My breaking point with Trump really was the aftermath of the election and the January 6th stuff, and I thought he overplayed his hand there to his detriment and the nation's detriment. But I would have much preferred the Trump administration than the Biden administration. I want that all on the table so you understand where I come at this. In 2016, I was very much of the opinion that I think evangelicals have to be careful. They are going to harm their witness. And I do think that you saw a lot of that with people like Robert Jeffries and Jerry Falwell Jr. and the like, who made it very difficult, I think, for a lot of evangelicals. It's one thing to go out there and say, I'm voting for this guy. I don't necessarily like him personally. I think he's got some character problems, but it's going to be a Republican or a Democrat, and I would rather a man who's going to protect the innocent unborn and defend American interests instead of someone who's going to push an abortion agenda, persecute churches and Christians, and apologize for everything America's ever done. The problem is that the cultural elite, also within a number of Christian publications, rushed out with all sorts of condemnatory pieces on evangelicals. Now listen, I tried to explain one time on television, I believe it was on CNN, I think it was CNN, we tried to explain this as an evangelical Christian. Why would evangelical Christians vote for this guy? Like, have you not paid attention? The Obama administration literally was persecuting nuns who did not want to perform abortions or pay for the performance of abortions. The Obama administration was literally targeting Christian faith-based businesses, family-owned businesses like Hobby Lobby, punishing them because they did not want their money to go to murdering children. During the Obama years, butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers were forced to provide goods and services to gay weddings. The left was culturally emboldened to persecute Christians. They were targeting Christian private schools. They were targeting Christian institutions. The Obama administration's own Solicitor General argued that, yes, faith-based organizations and churches could see the end of their tax-exempt status if they did not support gay marriage. So a lot of Christians in this country looked at Donald Trump and said, you're not one of us, but you're not out to get us. I'll go with you. As opposed to Hillary Clinton, who really was out to get them. Poor Harambe. I think that we have to recognize and understand that it's a complicated choice. And it always was. And while I didn't go along with a lot of my friends on the right in 2016 and 2020, I thought, I could support this guy. But among the cultural elite, also within Christendom, there's been derision, ridicule, and shame heaped upon anyone who would come out and say, I'll take him over them. There was a group formed, Evangelicals for Biden, much heralded in the press, by the way. The Evangelical Alternative. This reminds me back, you'll remember in 2010, 2011, with the rise of the Tea Party, the left offered up the coffee party. And the New York Times did a massive profile of a bunch of leftists who get together and rail against the Tea Party, and they're going to have the coffee party. And they're going to organize, and they'll drink coffee instead of tea. Actually, they'll drink mocha latte and frappuccino nonsensical stuff. And they would get together in their little Starbuckses, and they would read the New York Times, and they would lament those bigoted Southerners and their Tea Party nonsense. And it was going to be big. And they did the same thing with Evangelicals for Biden in 2020. Oh, they're not like those Hicks and Root, the Southern Baptists. Those Presbyterians from the PCA. And those white Methodists from the South who don't want gay marriages performed in their churches. Nope, we're the open and tolerant Christians. Our brains are so open, they actually fell out. And we're voting for Joe Biden because Donald Trump, he might be the Antichrist. If you pulled up the comb over, there could be a 666. Not that we really believe that sort of stuff, but had to vote for Joe Biden. They didn't want Trump. And you know what? I have told a lot of people and have said for a very long time, I understand not voting for Donald Trump. I do. If you're a Christian, you are deeply committed to your faith. You're kind of ashamed at some of the brain biblical donkeyness you've seen from some people within evangelicalism as they've decided to apologize and defend everything Trump said. I remember in 2016 when he was praising Planned Parenthood, and you had certain pastors come out and say, oh yeah, Planned Parenthood does great stuff. They kill babies. But man, they do some good stuff in the community. Donald Trump said so, so they must. It's like, you can actually say he screwed up. You are allowed. I was criticizing George W. Bush when he was president. I was running redstate.com at the time, and they were sending people to Red State to respond to my criticisms. They never got death threats from Republicans for criticizing George W. Bush. I did for criticizing Donald Trump. I criticize everybody. I'm kind of a man on an island these days. I'm a conservative Republican who was an elected official, who's an evangelical pro-life Christian who supported Donald Trump in 2020, but I'm willing to say I disagree with this. And my goodness, some people don't want you to disagree. But then there's evangelicals for Biden. If you didn't like Trump in 2020, you could have written someone in. You could have just not voted for president. You could have written in, Jesus Christ or Mickey Mouse. But some of them just, no, he's so bad, I got to vote for Joe Biden. And this is the thing the media has pushed, that, if you're not going to vote for him, you got to vote for Biden. They knew full well what they were going to get. And they've gotten abortion on demand policies. They've gotten the gay pride flag at the Vatican. Where are the think pieces on them? Because the cultural elite tried to shame evangelical Christians for supporting Donald Trump. They may not like the guy, but they knew he wasn't going to persecute them. Oh, well, and the cultural elite say there is no Christian persecution in America. Pay no attention to the baker in Colorado who is constantly harassed by the government to be put out of business. That's not real persecution because they're not killing him. It's amazing. We've even redefined persecution to claim it isn't so. One of the left-wing postmodern things that comes from critical theory is control of language. You redefine the terms. If you're not dying, you're not being persecuted, according to them. Where's the accountability for these Christians who say, I got to go for Biden because character matters? Where are the big think pieces for them? They're never going to come. That's it. They're never going to happen, but we should at least be willing to acknowledge, and maybe they will be grown up enough to put their big boy pants on and say, turns out voting can be complicated. And sometimes the choices are flawed and you're going for the lesser of two evils as opposed to the evils of two lessers. Maybe, just maybe, they could be somewhat reflective, but really what we're seeing is that the cultural elite will always shame the committed Christian, particularly when there's a difficult vote to be had and they want to participate in the civic process and have to hold their nose to do it. The left loves to point out hypocrisy and then engage in it.